brewing facilities on site. Is it something you'd be interested in? I was like, beer, yes.
What were some of the sort of the biggest learning curves that you had to take when you started the early stages of the brewery?
That's an interesting one. I think,
Today's guest is someone who's turned big ideas into real world impact across different industries, from running a multi award winning brewery to delivering some viral marketing campaigns with some of the UK's best loved brands. With a background in events, business development, and marketing, he now helps businesses cut through the noise and tell stories simply and effectively. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
thanks for having me.
No worries. Can you give us a 30-second to a minute overview of you starting your career to when you had that phone call from your dad about the opportunity that set you on your path?
Okay, yeah. So I did an undergrad course at a company called Pendragon, who at the time were the largest automotive dealership in Europe. And so I did an undergrad course doing business, marketing, communications, and events. Then I got invited back on the graduate scheme, fast track to leadership, doing group operations and business development. So a lot of stuff with the directors, going out to do site visits, inspections, reporting, presenting on company strategies and driving that forwards. And then decided I love cars, but it's not what I wanted to do. So I put my CV together, told anyone, and then out the blue, a week later, my dad called me and he said, "Hi, Paul. I've been sent the details of a small holding. There's kind of brewing facilities on site. Is it something you'd be interested in?" I was like, beer, yes. We visited it, fell in love with the place, and then yeah, the following week I handed in my notice and jumped full 2 feet forwards into setting up a microbrewery.
When you had that phone call, did it feel a risk or is it just too good an opportunity to turn down?
It was a bit of both, because first off, you get the call and you think, oh, this is kind of timely because I'm looking for a new opportunity. But also, it's a massive risk because I kind of feel like you're always taught to kind of, you go, you get a good job, you work your way up the career ladder. And this is one of those moments where it's like, actually, it's all on you. You go out, if you're going to do it, it's the success or failure is solely going to be based on whether you make it work or not. And so I think there's a bit of risk and pressure, but I quite like that because I think I respond quite well under pressure. But yeah, I think it's seeing also the opportunity, but also the challenge with that. I think excited and scared me in equal amounts, but I
Yeah.
think the timeliness of it was great. And also I think because it came from my dad, he's someone that we're really similar, which is great in a lot of ways, but always kind of said from a young age, oh, it'd be great to do something together at some point, and never really thought it'd happen. Bit of a pipe dream. So when the call came in, I was like, you know what, this could be a really cool, fun thing to do together and to learn from him. He's done pretty well in the past, and I thought it might be a good way to kind of get some mentorship from my dad in a way that isn't father son. It's kind of, I suppose it is still father son, but it's business mentor and growing something together.
Yeah. And dare I say then, going from, say, a corporate hat where a lot of things are taken care of things for you, such as marketing ideas, business introductions, a brand, you then come into sort of that, I suppose, entrepreneur, business owner, marketing, PR, dog's body, everything. What were some of the sort of the biggest learning curves that you had to take when you started the early stages of the brewery?
That's an interesting one. I think one of the things is you've got to be trying new things. You've got to be finding out what works, doubling down on that and learning quickly. See failure as, I kind of see it as a great opportunity for learning. And I think if I go back to the corporate land I was in before, it's kind of frowned upon. If you get something wrong, you're worried about slapped wrist and what the outcomes are going to be of having done that rather than actually challenging the boundaries, pushing things forward. What can we try? But one thing I did really like is, especially when it comes to the marketing, from coming and working with the cars, and there's the really strict corporate identity brand. The logo's got to be at this pixel and this far away from the border, and we've got to use these colors, and we don't differentiate from that. To be able to say, well, actually, what do we want it to look like? What do we want it to feel like? How do we want to tell the story without having all the regimented, this is our brand, this is what we do, and this is how we do it? The freedom and flexibility and nimbleness to be able to do that was quite nice. There's not loads of levels of hierarchy, no sign off. because you can just think, this is what I want to do, make it happen. And then the next thing you know, it's done and you're testing it, but without having to go through all the kind of processes to get there.
Yeah. And what was like then that first year like working with your dad at the brewery? Was it already a fairly sensible business that you were able to get hold of, or was it like you say there almost doing a rebrand or remarketing and taking it down to camp zero and then having to build it up? So take us through those sort of first few years, because often lots of businesses fail in the first 12 or 36 months, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. So there was actually a very small brewery running on site at the time, which was a bit of a blessing and a curse as well, because there was a short time period where it was a sponge of information, like how do I brew? How does this market operate? What can I learn from you to make sure I hit the ground running? But that microbrewery didn't have the best reputation just from a consistency point of view. And I think with a lot of things, especially beer, if you have a bad pint, you're probably not going to have that beer again. But there's so many things that can lean into that. It's like, have they had the beer on too long? Have they cleaned the line? So it might not always be the brewer's fault. So for us, rebranding and starting up our brewery, it was a rebrand, but it was a new brewery. It was new beers, and trying to get that into some of the publicans or people that had had a bad experience with the previous brewery. People have long memories and people want to enjoy good beer. So it's like, why should they risk it when there were so many breweries? I think at the time there was about 40 breweries in Gloucestershire, which is crazy. So it's highly competitive. Yeah, the first few years well, especially the first year was learning how to run that type of business and how to scale it, how to build networks. So you got your bread and butter income coming. And then also one of the things that I fell in love with about where the brewery was the location. So it's in between Gloucester and Ross and Wye. It was a little farm, beautiful views. And so we want to make the most of the destination. So actually we put a plan in for if people are going to make the effort to come to the brewery, what else can we do? And so we developed that into having an on-site shop. We had then did brewery tours, we did brewing experience days. So if you like beer, it's an easy sell. But then if I'm speaking to my wife about a day out, she's not going to be overly convinced to go to a brewery. So it's like, well, how can we evolve that into something that appeals to a wider audience? So we set up an events bar, we put a kids play area, we developed unique activities and experiences like blindfolded sheep herding, archery tag, we did weddings. Then the brewery was looking after itself and that grew really nicely. But a lot of that was evening and weekend. And then we were thinking, well, how do we do more corporate and stuff? So we then used those activities and increased our offering to be able to do more of a corporate servicing. So we worked with some massive brands like Superdry, NatWest, and stuff like now.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
I'd like to go back to the blinded sheep herding, did you say? Do you have to have a
Yeah,
disclaimer? No actual sheeps were blindfolded or damaged in the process of this this
that was a team-based activity because a lot of what we did was quite unique, quite quirky. The names of the beers, the location, the things you can do when you're there. So that was a random idea I had about increasing communication within teams. So what we did is put together a wooden pen, got, say, a team of 8, and one of them was the farmer or the herder. The other 7 got dressed up in a beautiful cow or sheep onesie with blacked out goggles and googly eyes on the front. And we spun them all around on the spot and got them on all fours. And then the farmer, it was a time trial to communicate with everyone on the team to get them within the pen as quickly as possible. So it was a bit of fun, and you can imagine people really enjoyed it. It sounds random, but it's especially when it comes to corporate team building and training. The last thing people want to do is go and sit in another meeting room and it's half a day. So it's quite nice that we could say, well, actually, we can do the classroom or the presentations and stuff, but actually we can have a bit of fun. You can have a beer afterwards. You can do some blindfolded sheep herding.
just, I suppose, changing the environment, which is like what you've done then with the marketing and having the brand is here's the environment that we took it over in, but we've had to strip it and change the environment. And then you've gone through different processes and then been able to say, right, we've got to here. but we've now reached this bit. How do we increase the participation, or how do we add extra value to people, such as the play area, or how do you make it a family day out? How do you make it actually, if you love all beer, how can you actually see it and get sort of, I suppose, the beer connoisseurs coming in to actually see a proper tap room and a brewery working, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I love beer. Like I always have loved beer, and the beer is central to what we did. So it's I think over the course of we were running the brewery for 7 years and won just under 60 awards, and the majority of those were for the beers. Ultimately, if you're producing a crap beer, you're not going to get much interest in the brewery.
So you didn't get any awards for your, was it your in any awards for doing your sheep herding, team
No,
building then? No, just purely for the
not
beer.
for the sheep hurting,
You're
unfortunately
not going to get
not.
it franchised like Monopoly or something.
Yeah, we have got some great photos and had some great feedback though. It was good fun.
And how did you go about the awards then? Were they something that you had a flyer through the door with and say, "Hey, enter our award," or were you like, you know what? We get a lot of feedback from these beers. They got an amazing names. We've marketed them. Actually, one way to increase our exposure is by going for an awards and see how we fare up to other breweries. Because you said there was what, 40 other local breweries in the county?
Yeah, there was about at the time, I believe it was about 40 breweries within Gloucestershire, so it's a lot. So in terms of the awards, I think they were always a key focus for me, especially setting up a new business, being able to quickly and efficiently gain a reputation or awareness. Awards were always high on my list of things to go for because worst case scenario, you don't get shortlisted. You put a bit of time in on the front end and the outcome can be massive because you get the PR with the people who host the awards talking about the brewery, the things you do. If you then win the award or you're shortlisted, you can do all your socials, blogs, tell people about it. Oh, we're an award finalist. And then if you win an award, you're an award winning brewery. And that is a really nice thing to say in terms of raising the brand awareness and profile of the brewery and the experiences and the people. That was always something that was really key to me. And I think every business should be doing that. And that was, I saw it on two ways. So there was the beer specific awards. So there's industry bodies like CAMRA and SEBA. So the Campaign for Real Ale and Society for Independent Brewers. Went in for them every year because we wanted to see how our beers compared. You always think that what you do is great, but actually give it to industry experts and let them be the judges. And we got really good responses from that. And then it's regional awards. So around the business, the other things that we were doing. So small business of the year, rural business of the year, things like that. Because when you think about Hillside Brewery, corporate events, team building days, they don't jump to mind. So yeah, we ended up changing it to Hillside Brewery and Events. And yeah, the awards just became a really great way of putting the name out there, but also going to the awards and meeting people and being able to be face to face with the audience that you're trying to reach.
And it's going above the status quo, like say putting your head above the parapet to say, okay, we've got this, we can tick along at doing our bread and butter stuff, but actually we've got space outside. We can actually put a little bit of time, you said, on the front end to maybe get yourself into the awards. If we get shortlisted, we might get a cool dinner, but you're actually going to be around like-minded people that are trying to do something different, or you can pick up people and go, where you're getting your hops from, or what you're doing there, or oh wow, they're doing that at an event. Oh, I really like your sheep game. Can you come and do it at our event? And you
Yeah.
you build up that. And if you then look back, were there any sort of moments along the way, whether it's your corporate days or your sort of the business and the brewery days, that sort of have shaped how you think or how you work around what success actually is?
Yeah. So I think for me, I'm pretty driven by progress and seeing change. So I think one of the biggest things that's kind of shaped me is stepping away from the corporate ladder to then working for myself with the pressure's on, isn't it? But actually really enjoy the process of because you set yourself a target, you hit the target later that day or the next day, your next target's already in, and the kind of feeling of having achieved that has passed. So I think one of the things that has shaped me is just trying to really enjoy the process and having had I not have stepped into setting up the brewery, I don't know if that would have felt as strong to me.
You've mentioned about don't compromise progress in the pursuit of perfection, which
Yeah,
again, if we then link that back into, say, corporate days, it had to be this pixel, this color, it had to go up the chain. That's almost perfection rather than getting something out there that's going. And then when you've come into the brewery, it's right, okay, we can try this. Here are our guidelines, but if it doesn't work, we're almost like a speedboat where you can change tack, but as you say, you like to make progress. You like to have that not necessarily feeling of under pressure, but you like to make progress. But you only make progress by making imperfect actions or steps.
yeah,
And do you still think you take that experience that you've got from the brewery into what you're doing now in your marketing PR brand?
100%. I think one of the things I love about small and medium-sized businesses is that you can be more nimble. There's often less levels of hierarchy for sign off. The people are keen to, especially with marketing, marketing can be seen as this kind of fluffy, we need to do more marketing, or we need to do something. We've got a new product launch, or we've got a new service, or we want to be known for this, but then actually being strategic and trying to find out what works to raise awareness in that, being nimble and being able to try different things and double down on what does work is great. I mean, there's things that you can do that you know will work. So, for example, PR is a massive one, especially with the changing landscape of search and SEO and AIO, GIO, whatever you want to call it. PR is a massive one. So there's things you know will work, but actually I had a client who works with apps, and we're doing ads for them, meta ads. And we just did some A/B testing, different wording, different pictures. And they were really open to it. And they said, look, we just want to get more app downloads. So just try what you think. And one of them was, I don't even know how to put a picture with a stupid emoji on. Thought it's probably not going to perform very well, but we'll just try it. Out of all the ones, you had ones that looked really professional, really good. The one that did the best was the one with the stupid emoji on. It's just interesting to be able to. They were a client that were really good about being open to trying different things, wacky things, like, because you never really know what's going to work and what's going to resonate with your audience. And you can have gut feel, but that's where becomes so important to test things, experiment, see what lands, and just do more of that.
Well, it's like having, I suppose, people might in a small business almost get that, or medium businesses, we need to do this, but actually they say they need more marketing or they need more PR, but actually, what does that mean? You know, it's the same as somebody going, I want to run a marathon. I'm just going to run. You're like, yeah, but I think you probably need to do a little bit more strategicness to your running. It's not just, I'm going to run 1 mile. Tomorrow I run 2 miles. I'll run 3 miles. I run 4 miles, run 5 miles. And actually, you're not actually getting anywhere. Which I suppose in the brewery, then you were able to go, right, we've got this idea, here's our guidelines, but we're not getting the feedback that we should be expecting or want to be getting. Let's open up the channels, let's experiment just this side of the guidelines, this side of the guidelines. Oh, this way seems to be better. Actually, that name change to Events and Hillside Brewery opens another minefield. So you're actually changing your angle slightly. And you've obviously then had to have sort of different identity shifts through your brewery stage. And you said you had it for 7 years.
Yeah. It was just over 7 years, I think.
And
Thinking
then
about.
did you sort of exit, sell it, or still going?
Yeah, so we ended up selling it. Well, actually, we didn't sell the brewery. What happened is COVID happened. Two of us kept it going, the head brewer and myself. And I'd recently got engaged, so I was living in Worcester and driving down every day. I think COVID was a great opportunity to be able to reflect as to where you are, where you want to be, what was important. And I think the success of the brewery, the more successful it became, the more demand. And so when we got back after COVID and it was back to normal, or the new normal, or whatever you want to call it, I thought, is this where I want to be in 5 years? And I think everyone was looking for a bit of a change of lifestyle. So we put it up for sale, and a company was relocating from London to Gloucestershire, offered us a great price, and someone had offered to buy the brewery as well. And all going perfectly. Was chasing the guy for the payment on the brewery in 2 weeks before vacant possession. I was like, we really need to get this sorted now. He said, oh yeah, the bank's just said I can't have funding, so gonna have to let you down. So yeah, I decided that with 2 weeks to go with all the other stuff. I just sold off the brewing equipment to a local brewery and then sold the site and all the other bits along with that.
Which is quite an interesting sort of, again, almost having to learn and adapt with the situation, which is what you've done all the way through the brewery. You think you're onto something, yep, it's going to go there, but until it's across the line or you're getting your feedback, you're never 100% sure.
Yeah.
And do you think that sort of mindset's now helped you shift into when you go into businesses or you go in and help them out? You've got the ability, not necessarily to be like a chameleon, but you can actually go from a helicopter view. I think you're describing this and this is where you want to go, and almost not gently nurturing them, but explaining to them this is how we can get there by doing these processes, almost failing fast and looking for imperfection. And you'll
Yeah,
slowly hone a
for sure.
result down. Yeah.
I think one of the things that the way I approach things is having run a business, and especially microbrewery and events, margins in the beer industry are incredibly tight, and also payment terms. You've probably bought all your ingredients at least 2 months before you're getting paid for the end product, because you've got to brew it, you then got to sell it, bottle it, all the rest of it. Having an awareness of the business from the shop, the events, the experiences, got quite a good grounding of what I prioritize personally and what I thought was important, and actually my efforts, what's going to have the biggest impact on the bottom line. And then going into, so after the brewery, I was headhunted into a PR and marketing agency that actually filmed me at the brewery. And that was a digital marketing and PR agency. So actually, I had 2 years with them. So 1 year was doing senior account management. The next year was business development director. So actually having a grounding in business and then agency as well. When I speak to new clients and go and speak to them, the majority of the time they have all the answers, but they just need a bit of help in terms of the delivery. Like, they know what they want to achieve, they know what the business goals are, but having the marketing that aligns with that is where they kind of tend to struggle, or they've tried marketing that has missed the mark, or that they just need a bit more strategy around it. And it's got a lot, invest quite heavily in software that helps track, optimize, promote, because like I said before, marketing can be fluffy. You say, oh, it didn't deliver because of this reason, but actually what are the numbers saying and how are we adapting to them is really important.
Dare I say then, coming back to the earlier comment you said, was you are now the farmer for those businesses. They're coming to you with the goggly eyes, the sheep onesie being spun around going, yeah, 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 but actually not going in the direct. They know they want to go that way, but they got half the team facing that way, half their messages going that way, half the messages going that way. And you just come in and go, right, with your whistles or your I don't know how to control sheep, whatever you do, and you sort of direct them. So maybe that's where the idea came from. You thought, you know
I,
what, I'm onto something here, and I can go into my company.
I don't have the cow onesies anymore though, or the sheep, the
Uh,
sheep onesies.
when you were the brewery, you had to do a lot of things yourself, almost write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, perform the theme tune.
Yeah.
Then in an agency, you've got a business coming to you that says, this is my theme tune. You're then in the agency world, you have to dance around to try and get them something. And obviously, you learn something from being those 2 years there. Now, being able to apply what you've learned from the first two of being purely in a business and growing it, then being in an agency, what things have you been able to sort of carry through continuity wise into what you're doing today?
I think one of the key things for me is making sure that everyone's aligned on the vision, especially if from a business perspective and if they're working with an external agency, because the agency are going to be working with them to help deliver on their goals. They need to make sure that they're comfortable and happy that they fully understand what the business wants, and making sure that people within, whether you're supporting people within the business or whether you're helping as like an addition or feeling like part of the team, that everyone's on that shared vision, going in the same direction. Everyone's really clear about what the expectations are. I think one of the things for me is obviously not compromising progress in the pursuit of perfection. Be nimble, try, see what works, and double down on that, and keep it
Nice.
simple. I think a lot of the time, especially with marketing, and I'll go back onto PR as an example. One of my clients did a press release recently about something, sent it for review, and feedback was like, really great, but can we talk about this, 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 and this as well? And it's like, no, because We just want to, what's the main focus of this press release? We want to get this message across. By trying to talk about five different things, you actually end up talking about nothing. So keep it really simple. What's the main messages you're trying to deliver, and focus on that. And I suppose people are what helps make the magic happen. Get a good team around you and help them deliver on that. Do what you say and say what you do. I think that's one of the most frustrating things when people set an expectation and you don't deliver. You've just undermined yourself. Yeah, that's it's the people who are ultimately going to help that happen or not.
And then you've been able to probably learn how to deal with people when you were growing the business in the brewery side, because obviously you had to have a head brewer, event staff. So actually knowing how this is how we deliver it. And this is our mission, this is our goal, and keeping a clear thing. Were there any perhaps funny moments in your events business and brewery business that people might not expect that might happen in a brewery that's okay to share, that doesn't incriminate anyone?
The story.
Okay. Names, dates, and events where these people were changed.
There's there is one funny story. It's not at the brewery, but is where I made an idiot of myself when I was on my undergraduate year at Pendragon. We used to do an event at the Le Mans 24-hour race. And so we used to do an event recce, we'd go down a few times a year. Then we'd host a load of people who bought supercars, and we'd shuttle them back and forwards. I'd had to book the ticket from the Eurotunnel. Anyway, we drive down. I'm driving my boss at the time, and she leans down the window. She's putting the code in, and doesn't work. And she's like, "You sure you've done this code right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." Anyway, long story short, we go in. I've booked the can't remember if it was the ferry or the Eurotunnel, but I'd booked it from France to England, not England to France, so I had to buy a brand new ticket. That was a great start. And then on the same trip on the way home, we were driving through London or past London and going on an underpass. And there's a couple of pigeons. We were in the fast lane, quite busy motorway. A couple of pigeons swooping around. And just before we kind of came to them, they both dive bombed. They hit the front of the car, hit the windscreen, and exploded. And the windscreen was just covered. Couldn't swerve, couldn't do anything. So just had to like slow down a bit, do the windscreen wipers, and hope for the best.
Man, how dare I say, timing is everything then, isn't it? Which is what we've been speaking about with marketing. Timing is everything. Message is everything. They just got their timing wrong, and you would probably say that that marketing campaign was a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
Talking about different marketing campaigns, you've obviously worked on different projects within the brewery, but obviously probably within the agency that you've been in, and obviously currently now. Were there any sort of ones that you've worked on before? Any sort of Christmas campaigns or special campaigns that you've worked with people to help with other breweries or anything like that?
Yes, there's two things that I think are worth mentioning. One isn't to do with the campaign, but it's just something that I was lucky to be involved with. So at the brewery, one of our biggest stock lists was Mid Counties Cooperative. We were selected as their brewery, the best of their counties, and they had a initiative that was like a Dragon's Den type pitch, and they invited me to be one of the judging panels, along with Phil Ponsonby, the CEO of Mid Counties Co-op. There was Adam Henson from Country File and Cotswold Farm Park, Phil Vickery, ex England Rugby and Master Chef, Rosie Ginde from Miss Macaroon. So massive names. And we spent the day judging local suppliers to become a stock list at the Mid Counties. That was the prize. And it was really interesting being on the Mid Counties cooperative side of understanding, well, what's resonating with them? What do people like Adam Henson think's important, who knows loads, got his own business, visits loads of different ones, and what's important to these people from the consumer side and from the stockist side. So it was really interesting to see that from a marketing campaign perspective, and also what they value from the businesses. But I think a recent campaign we've done was with Caleb Cooper from Clarkson's Farm, and he launched a sustainable Christmas tree business with SDL Solutions. So we supported with the PR, video, and digital marketing of that, and it was pretty intense day. So it was, we delivered 19 Christmas trees within a 50-mile radius of their HQ in the Cotswolds. So picked up Caleb at 6 in the morning, We had over 400 miles worth of driving in the day, and it did really well. So we, as you can imagine, there was a lot of different people who had to sign it off. There was the agency, there was Caleb, there was SDL, there was different partners. So the whole thing was videoed, edited, and signed off by 5 stakeholders within 3 days. And that includes the one day of traveling around from 6 a.m. till I think we got to the last pub at about 8 p.m. at night.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was great fun, quite funny. And I think that last time I checked, it was over 420,000 views, over 10,000 likes. Yeah, it's been really well received.
Now, obviously, you run your own business, which we'll talk about a little bit in the moment. How have you now found, obviously, mental health, work-life balance, all of this is very popular these days. Are there anything that you now know, being a few years on from having your experience that you've already done, that to find that work-life balance, obviously you mentioned you've got a wife and different things like that. How do you balance those things to obviously keep your ideas, your marketing stuff fresh and relevant, but also making sure you don't burn out? Do you find any ways to cope with that?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best at doing it, to be honest, because I find that I try and always be on. But I think last year I was started wakeboarding, and I've always enjoyed rock climbing just because I hate heights. And I think doing those things for me, when you're got to be 100% focused, like when rock climbing, it's like don't fall, don't fall, just hold on, do whatever you need to do. So for me, my switch off is kind of I enjoy wakeboarding because it's just really fun and going off the jumps and doing different things. You're having some good exercise whilst not. I've never really been to the gym, as you can tell, but yeah,
It's
for
a
me,
nice medium shirt you've got on. It's okay.
it's at large that the camera's doing wonders.
Camera's doing some good work.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I think for me, having those things has helped me kind of shift towards it. But also, I've got 4.5-month-old baby boy, so that has forced a bit more balance in my life because I can't work as much as I was.
Yeah, with it in. And what do you think you've learned from wakeboarding? Can you apply sort of your business acumen to wakeboarding? Like, do you sort of, I suppose, fail fast or fall forwards continually on the wakeboard like you do sort of in business until you learn what is a successful start or a successful jump or a successful campaign would be?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask me that because last weekend I'd entered an amateur wakeboarding competition and I've been reflecting on that experience and how it kind of aligns with just how I think about life. And one of those things was it's good to do things out of your comfort zone. The whole experience I absolutely loved. And I think that's true of life. It's so easy to kind of get stuck into the things that you know you can do well, but actually real growth comes from trying the things that you don't know. You only get good at doing things you don't do by doing them. So I think that was a learning point. I think the thing I really like about wakeboarding is that it's really humbling when you try and do stuff that you think should be easy and then you can't do them, or you do a trick and you think that's got to have looked good and you watch the video back and you look, that looks terrible.
Sending
I
it
like
off to you being frame or something.
yeah, the element of growth I really enjoy. So enjoying the progress, and I think developing in that is really good. And so actually at the competition, I got through the first round to the finals, and in the finals, I ended up. I really wanted to win, um, and so I tried a new trick and fell over. And the way the competition was done is it was a 7-minute jam session, so you had 7 minutes to do the best things you could. And if you fell off, you had to run back to the dock and go again. And I fell off on the far side of the lake, so I had to run all the way around. I think in terms of the mindset, I'm generally really positive and make the best of every situation. And actually, when, like mentioned, failure, trying to see, well, actually, that spurred me on to do even more. Like I knew that I think by the time I'd got back round, I'd got 2 minutes left. So I hit every feature as big as I could, doing the best things that I could. So I was like, if I don't, I've lost. and ended up off the back of that, it came first in competition, which I was blown away by, and yeah, still can't quite believe.
And you haven't obviously you've come down now because you still don't have your medal on. Thought you could have come in and just gone, oh, sorry, yeah, I have got this winner's medal, and just pulled it out.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
when you're at school, you go in and go, yeah, I won this like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, but I just need to sleep in it. I need to win in it, which is cool. And then what are you doing now then? What have you got set up? Obviously, the transition, you now find a little bit of balance between having a wife, a little one, and your wakeboarding. What are you doing now?
Or in work, just
In
in
work wise, yeah.
yeah. So in January last year, I set up Pronto Marketing. So it's a full digital marketing agency offering all the services you can imagine. So PR, copywriting, website, ads, photo, video, pretty much anything. A lot of it's strategy and data-driven results, but we believe in kind of marketing that moves. What's actually going to make a difference to your business. And we focus on manufacturing, industrial, and tourism and travel businesses. And yeah, it's been going really, really well. I'm pleased to say.
Good. So really what you need is then for the leisure and tourism is a few more wakeboarding lakes and companies to come on. So then
Yeah.
you can go, right, I need to perfect these skills. As long as you don't go around with all your winners medals and they're like, he's doing our marketing but entering our competition and winning all the time.
Yeah,
Sure, he's a
it's a bit.
bandit, isn't he?
It's a
But again, I
bit.
suppose coming back to that wakeboarding experience there, where you're like, right, okay, that campaign, I tried to do something, it flopped, but actually I've got to trust in myself. I've still got X amount of time left. Let's go back round. And now we know that campaign worked because we've tracked it. I can do a whatever off that apparatus. I can now do that and do that with confidence, and actually it gets you the results and moves the needle forward.
And the thing is, inevitably, things aren't always going to do really well. Like things are going to fail, but actually, it's what the key learnings from that, and how do we develop and make sure we minimize the chance of that happening again, but also make the most of what we can.
What you can do, yeah. And looking back on your journey that you've had over the last X number of years, what would you say? Would you go back to yourself when you had that phone call with your dad, or when you were in the brewery for the first time? Would there be anything that you would want to go back to and say to him now, with the experience you've got now, back to them? Trust yourself, do you think, or
Yeah, I think probably the time has passed like that, and I feel that was a really special time building that community, the people, the place, being able to work as a family. So just enjoy the journey. So that'd
enjoy
probably
the
be
journey?
one thing. I think it's especially being goal orientated and driven, it's really easy to kind of let those moments pass by, but actually celebrate those successes and make the most of them, enjoy the journey. Real growth happens outside your comfort zone. And yeah, I think like I said, don't prevent progress in the pursuit of perfection. But I think
Yeah.
that was something that I've always kind of tried to stick to.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
it's
I think
almost like then build, break, rebuild.
yeah.
Like, obviously, not saying you need to hurt yourself doing wakeboarding in that example, but essentially you broke your rhythm, you get out, rebuild and go again. The same with businesses, same back then is trust the process, build it, re-go, and then brilliant. And finally, if people would like to get hold of you so they can do come and work with you, where's the best place to direct them?
Yeah, so check out our website, prontomarketing.co.uk, or connect with me on LinkedIn, Paul Williamson, or drop me an email at paul@prontomarketing.co.uk. I'd love to speak to him.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Cheers.